Okay, think of every wonderful sensual experience you ever had. Could be sex, could be skiing, could be surf, could be, or all that, whatever. Am I now satisfied because of that I did? Is that satisfying me now? And did it satisfy me then? Was it a one-time event and I never wanted to do that again? That's proof that it's just not true. I'm still not satisfied because I did that.
To me, this story of the prostitute is is a very interesting one. Also, in terms of that is also to me a representation of how, or showing me and teaching me how to deal with lust. You know, and your mind that comes with all kinds of desires, like this prostitute came to Haridas Thakur and tempted him, and you know, how about this, and you can enjoy in this way. And he was not fighting her, he wasn't throwing her out, he just said, just wait a moment, right now I'm gonna chant my beads, and later I can think about you.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah.
So
I will certainly satisfy your desires.
Yes, which is completely true, which you did.
Yes.
Just her desires changed.
He did completely. Yeah.
No, well,
Which shows, you know, he had 100% faith in the power of the holy name.
Yeah.
You know, that's really the bottom line of that story.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't try to purify her. He didn't try to convince her with philosophy and et cetera, et cetera. He just, you know, very craftily arranged so she was in the presence of transcendental sound, you know, for an extended period of time, and it did everything, you know. So, and she was coming from a very dark or immoral or, you know, lust-filled profession. You know, and so she wasn't a good candidate, so to speak. She wasn't a seeker of the truth.
No, I see what you mean. She didn't come to him to ask for the truth or
No, she came to defame him. She came there as business, you know, to get, you know, rewarded for her seducing, you know, this saintly person, and then, you know, having him caught in a compromised position and defame him and be rewarded for doing so.
Which just goes to show whatever brings you to spiritual life is that's whatever brought you there. Yeah. Maybe you could share the story from the start. I guess it should start with Haridas Thakur. Who is he and where did he appear and why and how?
Yeah, well, it can be a long story, but we'll just make it somewhat brief. Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family in India, and this was in the 1400s. And at that time, the Vedic system socially was very strict. So the Muslim population was considered by the Hindus to be outcast. I mean, there was a social structure in the Vedic system from the Brahmins, the priests. They're on the highest echelon of the society. Mm-hmm. And then the Kshatriyas, and they're the kings and the leaders and the warriors and the protectors of society. And that was the next level down. And then the Vaishyas were the merchants, the farmers, etc. They were providers of the society, and they were the next level down on the social ladder. And then there were the Sudras, and they were the servants, the laborer class, the blue-collar workers. See? And they were on the lowest level of the Vedic system. But below that were the Muslims, see, and they were the complete untouchables. They weren't even on the list. So Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family. So from the Hindu point of view, he was an untouchable. But he was a saintly person, from birth. And so his spiritual proclivity was the dominating force in his consciousness and in his life. See? So even though he's born in a Muslim family, he embraced the Vedic knowledge. And he followed that Vedic knowledge.
Yeah, he didn't care about which team he belonged to and
He
who
didn't
was going to
belong to
join.
any team. He belonged to the spirit soul team, so to speak. And
Yeah.
so his whole agenda was coming to know and love the Lord, to serve the Lord, to please the Lord. Not the Hindu God, not the Muslim God, but the universal one supreme person. And so he understood that the Vedic knowledge was the absolute knowledge, and that's what he became educated in, followed, although he was very, very advanced from the beginning. It's not like he started from ground zero. But anyway, the point is, he was a great saintly person, And so at one point, he built a hut in the forest, and he just lived in this hut. And he had taken a vow to chant 300,000 names of the Supreme Lord per day. And that's what he was doing. And it was obvious that he was a very, very elevated, saintly person. And so he gained recognition from those who had the vision to see this. And so the Brahmins, they were unhappy about this, because here's a Muslim who is, getting recognition as a great saintly person. And this was taking, wind out of their sails. They were very envious.
It was.
See, so Ramachandra Khan, one of the leaders of this envious group, was so against Haridas Thakur that he wanted to defame him. He wanted to actually ruin his life, his prestige, his fame, etc. So he came up with a scheme to hire a prostitute to go into Haridas Thakur's, hut and seduce him. And then he had men, his scheme was to have men in place, and when this took place, they would rush in, catch this great saint in this compromised position with a prostitute, and that would ruin him. So he collected the most famous prostitutes of the area and explained his plan to them, and one prostitute said, "I can do this. I will take this duty on." So she was very, very expert at her profession, very, very beautiful, etc. So she went to Haridas Thakur, and she approached very coyly. She before prepared very nicely with all the perfumes and the elaborate dress and all the makeup and everything to be the most attractive that she could be. And anyway, she came to him and just kind of, came on the scene. And so, but in a very shy way, not very, just force her way in, but very modest, etc. And anyway, she sat there for a little, and he's chanting the mantras, just focused completely. But he welcomed her, and, being the gentleman that he was. And so she expressed, her desire, that she was so attracted to him, and she just had that burning desire to be with him. And he said, yes, I understand. I respect your desire, but I have taken a vow to chant a certain number of names of the Lord, and I haven't finished that number for today. And therefore, I will be with you when I finished. If you will just be patient and wait, when I'm finished, I will certainly satisfy your desire. And so she waited, and basically waited throughout the night. And dawn came, and this spoiled the whole mood, etc. And so she was ready to leave, and he said, I apologize completely that I didn't, have time for you, but come tomorrow night, and I can certainly fulfill your desire. So she went back and she told, the perpetrator of all of this plot, what had happened. And she said, but, he has promised to, fulfill my desire tonight.
Yeah.
So I will go back. And he was going to send me, and she said, no, let me go alone. So she went alone. But now there's a sacred plant called the Tulsi plant. It's a very spiritual, plant. And there was a Tulsi plant in front of Haridas Thakur's hut. And it's spiritual etiquette, spiritual, rule, really, when you come to a Tulsi plant to pay your respects. So when the prostitute came, she paid her respects to the Tulsi plant. Then she went in, and Haridas Thakur is again chanting, his number for the time. And she, again, it was obvious what she was there for. And he said, I've taken a vow to chant a certain number of names this month. And I thought I would be finished, but I am still in deficit. So if you can please, again, just wait. When I finish, I will be with you. And so she sat there, and she not only was listening to him chanting, but she began to chant along with him as well. And so again, the night passed, and the dawn comes, and she said, she's ready to go. And he again apologized. But by now, it's a completely different person. She goes back and tells but I will fulfill your desires. Please come again tomorrow. For sure, I will be finished. So when she tells, this Brahman, jealous, envious guy, don't worry, everything will be done tonight. So she goes back, and same story, but now she comes, pays her obeisance to the Tulsi plant, goes in, sits down, and chants with Haridas Thakur.
Oh.
And now she's very, very attracted and immersed in the chanting herself. She's getting great happiness from this. So at the end of the night, she pays her obeisances to Haridas Thakur, surrenders to him, confesses that the whole thing was a plot. She apologizes profusely, and he says, I know. I was ready to leave this hut before you came, but I understood the whole scheme, and I stayed here an extra 3 days for your benefit, so you could be recipient of the purification of chanting the holy names, he said. And now that you have become, purified by this whole time of hearing and now even chanting these names, now I am going to leave. I'm going to give you my hut, and you can live here, and continue to chant the names of the Lord, live a very simple life, worship the Tulsi plant, etc. And he left. And she did that. And he said also, go, before you come here to live, go and give away all your possessions. Of course, she was quite profitable prostitute. So she had possessions. She had all the wonderful clothes and everything that would come with that profession.
Yeah.
She went back, gave it all away, came back, moved into the hut, and lived simply by eating raw rice. She became an absolute monastic ascetic. And the word got around that this prostitute had become a great devotee under the influence of Haridas Thakur and chanting the holy names. And so people used to come to her, for her blessings, for her guidance. And she became a famous saintly person.
Wow.
And of course, Ramachandra Khan, he became completely defeated in his scheme. And the story goes on, and we won't go to that part of the story. But it was such an offense against a great saint, Haridas Thakur, that this is called Vaishnava Aparad, or offense against the saintly person. And therefore, he suffered greatly in the future because of this. See? He had to undergo great suffering. But the beauty is that when the prostitute came, she did not come as a person seeking spiritual enlightenment. She came from the opposite to defame this great saintly person. Because, number one, she would be greatly rewarded by Ramachandra Khan, and etc., And so, therefore, she was the least qualified. I mean, she had no good qualities.
But
Haridas Thakur knew the scheme before, because these, like Haridas Thakur had spiritual vision. He had spiritual understanding.
Yeah.
He was fully in contact with the Lord in the heart, who knows everything.
Yeah.
And so he was fully informed, and he stayed so she could be purified. This is the mercy of the great devotee of the Lord.
And he didn't get angry. I mean, the natural reaction could be, "You're coming here to defame me." And
No.
No
And
anger.
he didn't try to protect himself at all.
No, exactly.
He was displaying absolute humility. He didn't try to preach to her. He didn't say, "I know what you're up to."
Yeah.
Da. He just arranged it so perfectly that she heard him, the pure devotee of the Lord, chanting the names of the Lord with full absolute potency for that whole night, and the next night, and the next night. And 3 nights later, she had been purified of all of her lusty desires, all of her material agendas, her envy, her everything. You see, her evil nature that was manifesting everything, and became a great devotee of the Lord. See, her heart had been completely cleansed via the chanting of the holy names. And Haridas Thakur knew, he had absolute faith that this was all that was necessary.
Yeah. And her desires changed. He respected her desires even. He said, "I hear you, I see you, I understand this is your desire, and I will satisfy your desires." It just happened that her desires changed in those days.
And he fulfilled her real desire of happiness, satisfaction, and love for the Lord. So the devotee always tells you the truth. I will satisfy your desire.
Yeah.
Please just sit,
Yeah.
you know.
No lying, no cheating, just
Yeah, yeah. So, wonderful, wonderful story. And Haridas Thakur was on the planet before Lord Chaitanya appeared. See, he was the elder of Lord Chaitanya. And he was a contemporary of Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya was the great Vaishnava saint who actually appealed to the Lord to please appear to save the people of the Kali Yuga at that time because they were so materialistic. And their use of the Vedas and the chanting of mantras was not for spiritual purification, not for the pleasure of the Lord, but for material profit. See? So they chanted at weddings, they chanted at funerals, they chanted at birth ceremonies, etc., all for material profit. See, to get good karma, to get good material results. See, so he saw them taking the Vedic knowledge and the mantras and misusing them for material gain. They didn't know that they were spirit soul, eternally servants of the Supreme Soul, and that their purpose in life was to please the Lord. They had a completely materialistic vision, and they were suffering as a result. And out of compassion for them, for their well-being, he appealed to the Lord to please appear. See, that was Advaita Acharya. And he worshiped the Lord with cries, please come. He worshipped with the leaf of the Tulsi plant and water from the Ganges. And the Lord heard his plea and came and appeared as Lord Gauranga to save the people of the Kali Yuga through the hearing and chanting of the names of God. Harinama. But Haridas Thakur appeared prior to that. So he was a harbinger for Lord Chaitanya, really. I mean, you know, he didn't become converted or convinced or purified by Lord Chaitanya. He was before Lord Chaitanya. And he was such an authority on the chanting of the holy names that Lord Chaitanya, Lord Gauranga, officially declared him to be the Nama Acharya, the foremost authority on the chanting of the holy names. See? And so, you know, it's all so wonderful that, you know, Lord Chaitanya actually, the Lord himself, Lord Chaitanya, was, you know, the most recent incarnation of the Supreme Person, accepted Haridas Thakur as the Namacharya, and he, you know, acted as his, you know, follower, his disciple, his, you know, I'm your student, you know. So he asked him to please explain the glories of the holy name. And there was a conversation between Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, and Haridas Thakur. And it's recorded in a wonderful scripture known as the Harinama Chintamani. And Lord Chaitanya is asking Haridas Thakur questions about the holy name. And Haridas Thakur is informing the Lord of all the answers to his questions. So there's no question about the validity of the chanting of the holy names.
Yeah.
And the wonder and the power and the result.
Yeah.
And the prostitute is that personified.
Yeah. And just a minor point, but perhaps a minor point, I don't know, that I was thinking about is, so when we have these lusty desires that we don't want to have, that come into our minds, and that we should act in the same way, not try to push them out or hate them, but respect them and just focus our attention on the mantras and say, okay, I'm going to think about you later. That's a wonderful strategy to deal with the mind. It's just to say, not fight it, not fight against, just say, okay, I'll think about you later. I'll deal with you later. But now I'm going to chant the mantras, and that later might not come. But it's a great way to...
Oh, and it comes, like the prostitute came back 3 times.
Yeah.
But, okay, later. Don't think it's not going to come back. I mean, reality is.
Yeah, I see.
Those desires will, it says in Bhagavad Gita, like an incessant. The desires come like rivers, incessant flow of desires come like rivers flowing into the ocean.
Yeah.
But we don't have to become their victim. We don't have to fall victim to them.
Yeah.
Follow them, think they'll satisfy us, be under the illusion. If I do this, I'll be satisfied. See, that's the catch right there. That's the catch, Ruben. Because the illusion is, okay, I want it so bad. If I do it,
then I'll
be satisfied, and then I'll be done with it.
Yeah.
But that's an illusion. See? So if we're free of that illusion, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, they're going to come. You don't have to be disturbed by them. And if you're disturbed, it's a minimal disturbance. Chant the holy names, and disturbance will become less and less.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be like the ocean, like the perfect saint who, no matter what comes, I'm just calm and peaceful and never disturbed. I mean, if we're like that, hallelujah. But reality is, it's probably not like that for most of us, right?
I just, it made me think about something. I remember before I came to chanting, I was reading a book on some other philosophy, and it was picturing this guy who was in some kind of deep Zen meditation, and they were describing how these people, they were so in a meditative state that you could fire off a gun next to them and they wouldn't even react. And I thought, man, I want to be like that. that was my idea. And it doesn't have to be.
I mean, we have to deal with reality, like be here now kind of thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. That would be good, but, but, the more you chant and the more you just take shelter in the holy names, then the less those disturbing thoughts disturb you. They disturb us less and less. And the illusion is gone. If I do this, I'm still going to be disturbed. I'm still going to not be satisfied. So, free of that illusion, you're not so vulnerable. But if you're in that illusion, then you're totally vulnerable.
Yeah.
So gradually we just go on. Okay, think of every wonderful sensual experience you ever had. Whatever it is. Could be sex, could be skiing, could be surf, could be, or all that, whatever. Doesn't matter. And think, okay, am I now satisfied because of that I did? Is that satisfying me now? See? And did it satisfy me then? Was it a one-time event and I never wanted to do that again? And that's proof that it's just not true. Yeah. I've done all those things multiple times and I'm still not satisfied because I did that.
It's true. Just itching more.
My mom was, she was kind of a philosopher in her own right. And, I was always doing stuff, So I'd go out and I'd do whatever I did all day, and I'd come in, but I'm just coming in to eat and change clothes to go out that night and do more. And she'd say, aren't you satisfied? You just did this all day long. I said, no, that's over. Now I got tonight I got to go do something. Or you did that last night. Doesn't that still last today? Because she was real simple. I mean, my mom was so simple. She didn't go out and do fun things. Her fun was just, her staying home and taking care of the family and
Wow.
my father and so on like that. I mean, she was really, really just simple.
That's impressive.
And my dad too, So she couldn't get it. Oh, you just did all that stuff last night, then all day today. Why you got to do more tonight? She just couldn't relate. She could sit around and just think, oh, wow, that was so nice what I did when I was a kid. But anyway, the point is, it never satisfies you. It never does.
Yeah.
And gradually you start understanding that. Okay, maybe you'll say, well, the chanting didn't satisfy me either. Well, just chant again, because that's a good thing. Chanting is not a any way negative, it's a positive. And the more you chant, the more it purifies you, and the more, Haridas Thakur chanted, 300,000 names a day. And then he said, oh, that's enough. But he kept doing it. And he got more and more satisfaction from it. You see, it wasn't like he was trying to just, okay, that's enough, now I don't have to ever do it again, because he was getting more and more pleasure from doing it.
Yeah.
So there's so many points here.
Because that's the real world, is that when the pleasure is never ending, but that's the spiritual pleasure, and you're moving, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a pleasure that is different.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different pleasure. You burn out on material pleasure so easily.
Yeah.
Like that video, that movie that Vishnu Das and Gopaladasi made, it part 2, where they let those guys eat all those waffles that Hobart makes.
Yeah.
As many as they want. It's free. You can come. And these waffles are amazing. I never actually had one, but I've heard, as far as taste on the tongue, they're like highest level. And so these guys came and they just started, yeah, man, these things are great. I can do this all day. But after a couple of those things, they're big and they're very rich. The guys couldn't eat anymore because that pleasure just was gone. It turned into pain.
Yeah.
The pleasure turns into pain. All material pleasure turns into pain sooner or later. Whereas spiritual pleasure turns into ever-increasing happiness.
And these waffles, they still wanted more. The tongue still wanted more. It's really a bummer, because the first taste of that apple pie or whatever you're eating is really the best, and then you're thinking that the next bite you're gonna take will be just as satisfying, but it's never as satisfying. Yeah. The more
when
you
the
eat,
guy's throwing up in the garbage can in the movie, he was convinced, I don't want any more. Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, I guess our time's up. We've kind of run through the time. But it was nice little direction to go in today.
It's just wonderful inspiration, and these stories, to me at least, are very, very inspiring to see how things can be, because we have so much poor examples in today's society. So I think we need some good examples and on behavior and on manners and on morals, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So.
The glories of the holy name, the moral standards that almost don't exist.
Exactly.
All that is for our well-being. This is what's good for us. You see, you'll never have to go to rehab from living this kind of lifestyle. Okay, so Gauranga Haribol, that's the mantra. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. 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 Haribo, Haribo, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Haribo. Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Haribo, Goranga, Goranga, Haribo. Goranga, Haribo. Haribo. Goranga,
Goranga Haribo.
Okay. Goranga, Haribo. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Balakia.
You know, there's one little point I just thought of while we were chanting about Haridas Thakur, put him in a very unique position. I already explained he was born in a Muslim family, so the Hindus didn't accept him. But he was following what the Muslims considered Hindu practices, so therefore they didn't accept him. So from both sides, he was rejected. He didn't care. He wasn't playing any social game. He wasn't playing any, like me game. He just did what he knew he should be doing with his life, and that's glorifying the Lord. You know, carrying on with his spiritual focus on serving and pleasing the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
And that's again another example of Haridas Thakur that is magnificent.
Yeah.
See? Not trying to please this side, not trying to please that side, not trying to fit in somewhere. Oh, no, just my service to the Lord, pleasing the Lord, that's 100%. That's all.
I always end the podcast with saying, stay true to yourself and dare to break trail. And that's it. You just stay
There you
true.
go.
Stay true to your heart.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We could carry that somewhere, but we don't have to. Okay, so yeah.
I'll write it down in the potential talks topics.
So, thank you everybody who's joining us. Thank you for supporting our channel. Be sure to subscribe and tell others.
Yeah. Thank you, Balakia. And I'll see
Yeah.
you
We'll see you next time.
next time.
Namaste, Haribo. Haribo.
Haribo.